The invention of bread cannot be exactly dated, even if we're certain of exactly when the first bread was found. Around 12,000 BC in Jordan. It was prepared by grinding a mixture of cereal between two stones and then mixing that with water. The final dough would then be baked on a hot stone. Instead, we're certain of exactly when and where the breadstick was born. In 1679, in Torino. Indeed, to be even more precise, in Venaria Reale, and we even know the name of the person who invented it, Antonio Brunero. But how? 4 centuries ago, medicine was heavily based on nutrition, since people could not count on today's chemical remedies. It was nutritional medicine. People would get prescribed certain types of food or excluding them from the diet. And obviously, the more important the patient, the better were the doctors that were treating them, experts on the effects of different foods on health. In Piemonte, in Piedmont region in 1679, the most important person was the Duke of Savoy, who resided in the castle of Venaria Reale. The Duke of Savoy held the office of almost king, because the Duchy of Savoy was vacant. 3 years earlier, the king, Carlo Emanuele II, had died, and his son, Carlo Amedeo II, was only 4 years old, and he could not become king until he came of age. He was being looked after by his mother, Maria Giovanna Battista of Savoy-Nemours, a brilliant French woman. But despite her loving care, Carlo Amedeo was ill. He suffered from severe problems in his digestive system that caused excruciating pain in his stomach. The brilliant court doctor Teobaldo Pecchio soon discovered that the main problem was the bread. Carlo Amedeo could not digest the leavened crumb, which was a fairly common phenomenon in those days because generally the bread was not cooked well, and that cursed yeast fermented in the bellies of mainly the children. That created a lot of difficulties and cramps in the entire digestive system. But then Dr. Pecchio tried to feed the child with only the crust of bread and realized that without the crumb, Carlo Amedeo was perfectly fine. So the next step for Dr. Pecchio was to summon the court baker, Antonio Brunero, who was a renowned pastry chef as well as an excellent baker. Brunero had to face a challenge that was simple to explain, but not so simple to make. He had to create a gersa, which was the name for the loaf of bread in Piemonte at the time, a gersa that had a lot of crust and little to no crumb. Brunero began to experiment incessantly because the health of the future king depended on the results of his research. After several attempts, he finally developed the method of rolling the dough in his hands until he created a very, very thin 40 centimeter stick that obviously can be shortened or cut as it happens today. Thus, the breadstick was born. From Brunero's pure art of bread making, from a lot of imagination, and from the manual ability dictated by a cause not strictly gastronomical, but curative. It was given the name Grissino, the little one of the gersa, of the loaf. And even today in the dialect spoken in Piemonte, the breadsticks are called Grissino. So the Grissino, the breadstick, turned out to be the perfect medicine for Carlo Amedeo, who recovered very quickly. And at court, the success of the Grissino was so great that the breadstick with no crumb became commonplace and quickly spread through the noble families first, then to the bourgeoisie, and it finally became common use and it was produced by all the bakeries in Torino. There are several stories and legends about the gluttony of the breadstick that contributed into making it an icon of goodness. It is said that King Carlo Felice, regent of the Duchy of Savoy between 1821 and 1831, was crazy about them, and that he even munched them relentlessly at the Reggio Theatre, emitting sounds so loud that he disturbed the shows. Napoleon Bonaparte demanded the weekly transport service between Torino and Paris so that he would always have fresh breadsticks. He called them the little sticks of Torino. The most important bakeries throughout the 800s in Torino churned out breadsticks relentlessly, and in order to organize themselves, they had created a kind of assembly line that had 4 different categories of workers. The stiror, the one who rolls and shapes them. The talor, the one who cuts them. The kureur, the one who puts them in the oven. And the gavor, the one who extracts them. To make the perfect grissino, the perfect breadstick, the list of ingredients is very, very simple. Flour, water, extra virgin olive oil, Italian companies use organic oil, salt, yeast, and in some cases even lard. No preservatives or additives. Different types of flour can be used or combined in order to create different flavors depending on the mixture, type 0 or double 0 or wholemeal or corn flour. The historical producers of the breadsticks say that the secret lies within the preparation. First, the hands. Second, the hands. And third, the hands.